everybody, it's Allie and welcome to our Y&R Chat for Sunday, May 17th, 2015. I'm so glad that fake Jack popped up out of that coma because I hate amnesia storylines almost as much as I hate twin storylines. So that was at least pleasing to me. I mean, even though this storyline is absurd on the surface, there definitely are some good dramatic moments that have come out of it. I laughed and was kind of delighted when fake Jack popped up out of his coma and, just tried to like kind of one-up Victor and surprised him and made Victor realize that he was kind of faking not knowing who everyone was. He comes out of the coma and starts playing this game like he doesn't know who Phyllis is, doesn't know who his own family is, and really it's about trying to find a way to one-up Victor. And I do like that we're kind of getting into this Jack versus Victor, throw in a little bit of Adam in there, throw in some business storyline. That is very exciting to me. So I think there's some good elements in here, and I think we're coming to a head to where we're gonna see more of Victor versus fake Jack. And I think both of these characters, both of these guys have demonstrated that they're willing to take it completely to the edge to win. For crying out loud, Victor almost murdered the guy this week. I am sorry. That was so completely shocking to me. Fake Jack is lying there trying to, make his case to Victor that, he's good, that he's smart, that he can play this role, and maybe he can one-up him. Maybe he could blow up his whole story. If you don't give me a little bit more freedom to play this role of Jack, then I'm gonna blackmail you. So Victor walks over to the side table, grabs a syringe, and starts talking about how, oh, well, you think you've got the power position here. What if I just take this syringe and inject a little bit of air into your IV and then poof, you're dead. I don't need you anymore. The documents on the merger are signed. You're useless to me. What? It drives me nuts that Victor is this bad of a villain. Victor Newman, in all of the years that I watched the show, and maybe it was just me, I always saw him as the hero. I mean, he was never perfect. He was always ruthless, but I appreciated him and I could see his perspective and I understood his family values, and I knew that at the end of the day, he was a good guy. And now he's a murderer. He would just kill. I'm gonna just choose to believe that Victor was bluffing because I can't even wrap my head around the fact that Victor would just straight up kill the guy. Adam ended up walking in and completely like screwing up whatever was gonna happen. Notices that Victor's like, what are you doing? Why are you coming at this guy with a syringe? And so Adam kind of decides to get his own level of blackmail in there. He tells Victor, okay, all right, I'm not gonna tell anybody what I just saw you doing in this hospital room, but you're gonna have to pay me to keep me quiet, and part of that is I need a position at Newman Enterprises that is higher than Victoria, and I want money. So I want power and I want money, and I'll keep your little secret. Well, Victor didn't play too kindly to that, or he didn't take too kindly to that. Nobody puts Victor Newman in a corner. Do you know who the hell he is? He's Victor Newman. He built this company from the ground up. You think he just has to hand it over to you? I don't think so. Have a good day. So kind of, I do like that we're seeing this trifecta. It's Jack versus Victor versus Adam, and I think that we're going to, out of that trifecta learn Adam's identity. I'm kind of guessing at this point that Victor is trying to keep this Gabriel guy close. He's obviously doing a little bit of research on him on the side, and I think that he is giving in to Adam just a little bit to find out what he's hiding. And after this confrontation with Adam, Victor goes back into the hospital room with fake Jack and says, all right, I'm gonna let you live, but what I need you to do is fish out whatever this secret is that this Gabriel guy is hiding, since you guys are apparently such good friends. Which I will say, on a side note, Gabriel was talking to Chelsea at some point early in the week and was saying about how his best friend in the world, or a man he respected more than anyone, is in the hospital in a coma. And now Victor's picking up on the fact that Gabriel and Adam are extremely close, or sorry, excuse me, that Gabriel and Jack are extremely close. Well, when did that even happen? I mean, I think Adam's showing his hand a little bit, even by admitting that he's that close with Jack. I mean, that sort of just came out of nowhere. They were business associates. Jack brought Gabriel into Jabot, brought him into the family as in, yeah, this is kind of an associate, but now all of a sudden Gabriel's idolizing Jack, and it doesn't fit. I'm surprised that things aren't clicking here and there about Gabriel's real identity, but it seems like Victor's gonna try to use the fake Jack to ferret whatever Gabriel's secret is, and I am looking forward to that. I do want to see Victor learn even more than I want to see, I think, anybody else learn. I want Victor to know that this new guy that he's developing this rivalry with is actually his son. I think that's going to be exciting. And fake Jack is, for now, deciding at this point in the story to give in to Victor and to just go along with it. Sure, I'll be a good boy for now. Please don't murder me. He decides to behave. Fake Jack confirms to the entire Abbott family that the signature on the contract is valid, that he remembers signing it. So the whole issue of the forged signature sort of falls away a little bit, at least for now. The Newman-Abbott merger is still on. Ay caramba! Ay caramba! Even though fake Jack is deciding to be a good boy now, he is still obviously suffering some kind of effects of having been in the coma, having had a head injury. He's someone who's gone through a lot. We don't really know the backstory of fake Jack. All we know is that he happens to be a dead ringer for Jack Abbott. And so little by little we're getting these peeks into who this guy actually is. And Phyllis is sort of catching on to him. In the wee hours of fake Jack's sleep, he is sweating and he's writhing around and he's obviously stressed about something, and out of nowhere he's speaking in Spanish. Yeah, I'd say that's a red flag, Phyllis and everyone else in the family. Phyllis even goes to the trouble of recording him. Why is my fiance speaking in Spanish? I would think that he was possessed at this point. If someone you've known for years and years and years all of a sudden out of nowhere knows a foreign language, yeah, that's a red flag. And not only that, but he's obviously not Jack. He's so tormented and deeply disturbed inside, and I can't help but think that the head injury must have something to do with this. You can tell there's an element of violence there. He wakes up from this dream that he's having about being in prison and meeting Victor, and he kind of grabs Phyllis's arm forcefully, and she's really thrown off by it. So I think Phyllis's suspicions are getting raised, and at the same time we're learning more about who this character is. There was a series of I guess, quote-unquote flashback scenes this week where the fake Jack is inside of this single holding cell with a mustache. For this flashback scene, they gave fake Jack a mustache when another mustached man comes up to the door, and they start kind of having this standoff where Victor is meeting this guy, taking a look at him, probably assessing how much he looks like Jack Abbott, and he starts to ask him who he is, and the guy's like not wanting to give it up, but there was this weird moment where Victor's asking what this guy's name is, and the guy is not wanting to give it up, but then all of a sudden he says Victor. And that's where he wakes up from the dream / flashback. But I was confused by that, because it seemed to me in that moment that maybe Jack already knew who Victor Newman was. So I'm getting the impression that this fake Jack guy is certainly not kind of an innocent, bumbling, good time playing, minor criminal history. I'm getting the impression that he is someone who is actually very intelligent, knows what's going on, already knew who Victor Newman was, and maybe was trying to play Victor from moment one while Victor thinks he's playing him. So that was kind of an awkward moment, but then just only a few scenes later, we've got another confrontation between fake Jack, and Victor, where Victor's kind of trying to put this guy in his place, force him to behave, force him to play by Victor's rules, because there is only Victor Newman's rules. And Victor said something to the effect of, the guys in Peru didn't know who they actually had in their prison, but I do. I happen to know, sir, that you are on the FBI's most wanted list, and all I have to do is make a phone call to them, and it's all over for you. So, a Jack Abbott lookalike just happened to be on the FBI's most wanted list, and it's not public knowledge. Everybody didn't know about it already. I mean, Jack had never been contacted about the fact that he had this guy that looked stunningly like him. Jack had never been falsely arrested. It's yet another thing that you just have to forget and just leap into. Just go with it. This is, there's no logic to this whatsoever. Apparently a Jack lookalike has been on the FBI most wanted list for who knows how long, which says to me he's a very, very dangerous criminal. And in also the same light, this guy was making threats against Victor about blowing up his whole operation. So I think the sum of this week's scenes pertaining to this are telling us that this guy is no fool, and he's not somebody to be trifled with. During this exchange between Victor and fake Jack, fake Jack is sort of erupts into saying, I know who I am. I am Marco. So he's revealed that his name is Marco. So he is obviously, he must be Spanish, or he's someone who's been kind of floating around. I don't even know if whatever other previous crimes he's had have something to do with the U.S. or if I don't know anything about this guy other than his name is Marco and that he's obviously dangerous, but so is Victor Newman. Okay, so I don't know, soy Victor Newman, and you're not gonna mess around with me. But it's clear that it's coming to a head. I think that on the surface, Marco, which finally, can I please stop calling him fake Jack now? I think from this point forward, I just need to call him Marco. Finally, it will be a little easier to discuss. With all these twins, it's like I'm constantly calling, I don't know if I'm supposed to call Adam Gabriel or vice versa. Now, at least I've got a name for a fake Jack. But just as, there's this, there's kind of a threat counter threat going on between Marco and Victor. Victor kind of makes his final threat, walks out the door, and there's this scene of Marco looking all crazy-eyed. He had the crazy eye thing going on. It was real obvious that that guy's a loose cannon. By the way, I don't know at what point, I still don't feel like I understand when the switch happened. I believe that it happened at some point before the underground collapse. So Marco, I think, was the one who slept with Kelly. I think he was the one who got hit on the head in the rubble. And so I don't know if he was unaware of who he was. I don't know if Marco did experience some level of amnesia, and now is something changed in his personality, something changed in his memory that's going to switch him into not just a passive character, or but a much more aggressive character. Now, while this is all going on, I think all happening on Friday's show, Fenn comes back into town. He has texted all the Scooby-Doo gang to go up to the cabin because he has something to tell them. And Fenn reveals that on Valentine's night, on the night of Austin's murder, the only reason he slipped that drug into the drink and made everybody fall asleep was because he was actually being blackmailed by somebody. So Fenn, we're supposed to believe, drugged his friends and family to keep quiet about something. And then he reveals later that the something is the fact that he got an F in a college course. Like, kid. You need to put your life into perspective, okay? You got an F in college, and someone says, "Ooh, I saw you switch that F to a B, and if you want to not have this information get out into the public, you're going to do me a favor." And that favor is, I want you to put this mystery drug into the drinks of people who you love and trust, your friends and family. Is there any scenario on which you would agree to that? I mean, and especially over an F in school, this kid is messed up. I never trusted that little weasel kid from minute one, and this just confirms it for me. I mean, it doesn't even make sense. I mean, he could have killed everyone in that room, and he just did it anyway. And then even when the result was, oh my gosh, Austin was dead. Oh my gosh, everyone's being stalked. Oh my gosh, Abby got hit over the head. Too bad she couldn't have died. Ooh, sorry. Courtney did die. He's never going to come forward with this information until now for some reason. I guess because Sharon was acquitted. I don't know. Fenn just decides to come forward, decides to, and by the way, rather than going to the police, decides to tell the friends, decides to tell the gang about the whole thing now. And Summer had the presence of mind to say, we need to call the police. We have not done a very stellar job of dealing with this whole murder case on our own. We actually need to get a professional involved. Hallelujah, Summer. She calls in Paul. Paul comes to the scene and gets Fenn's whole story. Fenn says, oh yeah, the guy he put the vial of drugs in an envelope, taped it under a bench, and then told me to go pick it up, which I just did. And oh, I happened to have saved the envelope that he put it in. And here it is, just in case you want to do some DNA testing. Just in case, hey, criminal mastermind who's done all of these elaborate things on this murder, up to and including wiping computer systems and stalking these kids and going completely undetected by a number of people and the police. The one mistake you made was you decided to lick that envelope. So Paul takes the freaking envelope back to the police station, and then all of a sudden he runs it. they did like a 5-minute DNA test and he runs it through their system and it comes out that, oh shoot, there actually is a DNA match. And whoever licked the envelope just so happens to have been someone who was in the FBI database, and it's a complete match. So hence, I guess Marco is supposed to be the real murderer now, or it's another false lead and somebody's setting this person, setting Marco up to be it. Which if it's true, I just think it's either this actually did it and this murder thing is gonna get wrapped up soon, or it's another false lead and someone else is blackmailing Marco, and we're just gonna all of a sudden now get some other suspect in to take the blame for this murder, which isn't really even a murder because Austin is still completely alive. But let's just say for a second that Marco actually did kill Austin. What's the motive? Why? I mean, we know there was that. Amongst all of the evidence that Y&R's thrown out there, there was that tape of Austin and Jack meeting in the park. Remember that? I mean, that's why it's just got to be a setup from the whole beginning. I mean, why? I'm assuming that was Marco that was meeting in the park with Austin, which again tells me that that they would be in cahoots together. It doesn't make sense to me that Marco would just kill Austin and kill Courtney. Why would this dangerous Spanish criminal want to kill Scooby and Shaggy? What's the point? Did they get in the way of his master plan? He could have gotten away with it if it wasn't for these pesky kids. I really have been thinking for weeks, why doesn't Jack just acquiesce to Kelly? Why doesn't he just say, okay, I love you, we should be together, and then let him out of the cuffs, overpower her, and escape? I don't know why Jack has fought Kelly as hard as he could. She's obviously unstable. He should have just given her what she wanted to hear and actually had a strategy for getting out of the situation, but instead, now it's developed into this weird drugging. Kelly is drugging him and brainwashing him into thinking that she's his wife. It's bizarre, and I don't recognize Kelly. I don't know who this woman is. She is nothing like the original incarnation of the character. She's nothing like the original recast of the character. She has just become like this weird, sadistic Ellie Mae. Like she's wearing the Daisy Duke shorts and she's got her little pigtails in and a little flower in her hair. Her fashion is way whack, and she's so like Susie Sunshine, but in a weird and it's not even in a dark way. It's just it's being played so comically almost, and it's hard because it's just not my cup of tea. This type of story is just not, it's just not for me, and I'm sure there are some people out there who are really enjoying it, and that's awesome. For me, I feel embarrassed by watching it, to be honest with you. I think probably on the basis of this storyline alone, I would not recommend Y&R to anyone right now. I would never say, oh my gosh, you gotta watch this show. Of course, I've never really done that, but you know how you talk to people, you're like, oh, this show's so good right now, you gotta get into it. But I don't feel that way about Y&R, probably in general. I think it's kind of in a clunky place. I mean, if I'm looking at the show on a whole, I think it is kind of clunky. I think it's veered quite drastically from what we're used to seeing. And this storyline in particular, I just feel embarrassed by watching it. And the sad thing is though, it's really good acting. I'm watching Peter Bergman, he is awesome. And just like seeing him going through this stress, it's hard for me to watch because I love Jack. And then watching Kelly in this over-the-top role, I think that the actress is playing it exactly the way she's supposed to be playing it. I'm sure that she's doing the best that she possibly can, but even this awesome acting cannot turn this poop into a pie. for me. I am just not ready to mow down on this at all. It's so over the top for me. And the other piece of it that bothers me is, again, it's Victor as this villain. It's Victor on a level of villainy that I don't think we've really seen before, and that I don't want to see of Victor. Because, I mean, there was a scene this week where one of the police guys is in the little hut with Jack, the abduction hut with Jack, and Kelly's nowhere around, and he's taking a phone call from Victor. So we are confirmed that it's not just Victor saying, hey, Kelly, you go do this with Jack, and let it be. He'll be fine. He's with Kelly. She loves him. It's fine. But Victor is, he's working with the police to keep Jack there. It's so underhanded. It's so wrong. It's so morally it's in the dirt. I cannot respect Victor anymore, and I don't want to feel that way about the guy who I have looked at as the hero of the story. That Victor would knowingly allow Jack Abbott to be tortured like this. I mean, did you notice the makeup around his wrist this week? It was. I mean, the Y&R's done a good job in the way that they had his wrist makeuped in red so that you could see he was sore from being inside of these handcuffs. He's being deprived of food and water and drugged and brainwashed, and this is all because of Victor. It is horrible. Victor is a horrible person. And I just have not felt like that before. I have not had those feelings of Victor. He always seemed redeemable to me in the past, and now it's so gone. And I wish the result of this would somehow be an explanation that would alleviate Victor from some of this. I don't know if they're just thinking, oh well, Eric Braeden will be off the show eventually, so we might as well just make him the villain. I don't want Victor to go out like that. I don't want Victor to be here like that. It makes me sick to watch Jack go through this and to know that Victor's responsible for it. I mean, we saw the scene too where Kelly's brainwashing him, and he's going through this process of not understanding what's happening, and John is in the room, almost representing, I think, the very last waning parts of Jack's actual personality as he transitions into La La Land with Kelly. And it's so heartbreaking and so hard to watch. And I guess at the end of the day, I always took the Jack and Victor rivalry as more like, well, first of all, Victor always won. If Jack ever won, he never won for long. Victor was always the one up. He was always the victor. But yet, I always kind of took that rivalry as kind of like a house cat playing with a mouse that he found. I mean, like, I don't think Victor, I hadn't felt like Victor ever really wished Jack any specific harm. He just kind of wanted to play, and he found Jack to be a worthy adversary to entertain him. But doing this to Jack and orchestrating the whole thing, it's a new low. Not to mention that Victor has got Neil and Nikki all wrapped up into this contract forgery. Neil has never been anything but a loyal soldier for Victor anytime he's worked for him throughout the years. And poor Nikki, it's so disrespectful that he would trick her into doing something illegal and amoral, particularly given what she's going through right now. I mean, she's got a mess. She's a recovering alcoholic. Has he paid one lick of attention to anything that Nikki's going through? No, he just used her as an easy dupe, and more than that, he preyed on the fact that Nikki is good-hearted and would go along with it and not ask any questions. He preyed on her trust of him, which I don't know why she has that anymore. It's just, I feel disgusted by Victor, and I feel horrible that Nikki and Neil are being dragged into it. And not only that, he constantly lies. Nikki straight up asked Victor this week, did Jack actually sign that contract, or did you trick me? Did you betray me? Because Billy and Ashley are running around and asking Nikki and asking questions about whether the contract is real, and Nikki knows damn well that she didn't witness anything. It reeks of shadiness, and she asked Victor straight up, did he actually sign this contract? And he lies to her. I mean, the only person who is even trying to defend Nikki or at all looking out for her best interest right now is Neil. In fact, there was a scene this week where Billy and Ashley kind of gang up on Nikki and try to ask her, or try to get her to crack about the truth around the circumstances of this contract signature, and she obviously doesn't want to give them any information, but she, you can see it all over her face that something's wrong, and Neil comes in the middle of it. He ends up getting into a fight with Billy. I think didn't he like punch Billy? I think Billy said something to him like, you're so great at detecting the truth, you couldn't even tell that your son and your wife were sleeping together. I think that's what it was. And Neil just punches him. So we've got Neil kind of going off the wheels there, punching Billy in the middle of the athletic club. We've got Nikki, yet again, longingly looking at the booze. Thank goodness she called Neil for help before she went ahead and took a drink. But, I mean, it's like, I kind of like that friendship that's developing. I hope it doesn't turn into any kind of relationship or anything like that, but I kind of like Nikki and Neil's friendship. She lied for him during the whole car accident, Christine losing her baby thing, so now Neil's lying for her, trying to cover her butt for signing a contract illegally and immorally. Ugh. On the plus side, Nikki's hair is on point this week. I guess I gotta give some props to the hair and makeup department. I thought Nikki looked great this week. I loved her kind of sleek look. She just looked beautiful this week, exactly where I like her to look. This is so messed up that Victor has forged, even if nothing else has happened, even if the twin thing didn't exist, if he's not connected to the Austin crap, it's still so wrong that he forged this signature. It's wrong that he's like blazing forward with all of this. It's wrong that he's involving Nikki and Victoria. He's gonna have some real explaining to do, because this is obviously gonna come out. I mean, clearly in a month or so, all of this is gonna have blown up. Where is that gonna leave Nikki and Victor's relationship? Where is that gonna leave Victor and Victoria's relationship? And is it so wrong for me to kind of want the Newmans to at least have a somewhat functioning family? I mean, it's like the Abbotts are the family that stick together. The Newmans are the ones that tear each other apart. It's not where I want my Newmans to be. Not to mention the fact also that, of course, to mention the fact that Billy and Victoria are starting to get a little closer, and Billy is trying to press on Victoria a little bit to get Victoria to reveal that maybe Victor is being kind of shady here. And in fact, I did love the scene where Billy kind of lists all of the ways that Victor has specifically screwed with him and with their relationship, and is asking her, why are you having such a hard time believing that maybe your father was involved? Maybe he is up to something. He even called him Darth Victor. I loved that. That was so funny. I love the writing for Billy right now. But I mean, Victoria is so blinded by it. I mean, the most important thing to Victoria in her whole entire life is approval from her father. It's the only thing I think that she puts above everything else. And now, in the result, or in the aftermath of Adam or Gabriel walking in on seeing Victor almost killing Marco, show. It's so hard to keep these names straight. Gabriel had asked for this position of power at Newman Enterprises, and Victor's gonna give it to him. Victoria walks in, and she after having had this conversation with Billy, she sort of asks Victor, is there any chance you had anything to do with this? Can you just be honest with me right now, Father? And Victor gets like completely offended, and it sounds like, how dare you question me? I'm just because you questioned me, you questioned me, and 1 second later I've already rehired your position. I mean, shoot. He brings old Gabriel in and tells Victoria, yeah, you're not loyal enough to me, so I've hired Gabriel, and he's going to be in basically a co-position with you. What? Victor's the worst person in the world. I mean, it's just, what's next? Maybe some mass genocide, Victor? Maybe there's a small country somewhere that you'd just like to lay waste to so that you can put in a boxing ring or something. I don't know, or some storage for your fancy tequilas. He's just the worst. It just does feel like, in general, with the show, they are laying waste to any kind of character development in order to get us to these plot moments. Because, I will say, I think Adam versus Victoria, trying to be in control for that power position, that's always a dynamic that I enjoyed back when, it was Adam, the original Adam, and I think it will be a good dynamic now. I mean, for crying out loud, somebody needs to get in there and give Victoria a run for her daddy's money. This week with Adam and Chelsea, it was like 2 lovemaking scenes for the price of 1, and let me tell ya, I enjoyed both of them very, very much. Chelsea was having this hot dream fantasy with who she thinks is Gabriel, and she wakes herself up, and guess who's at the door? It's Gabriel. And they have another kind of one of these push and pull moments where she's telling him, you ruined my life, you completely destroyed my marriage. If it weren't for you, I would be married to Billy right now. I need you to just go away. And Adam tells her, oh, I'll go away if you can tell me that you don't have feelings for me. And she obviously does. She pretty much immediately starts kissing him, and I just really appreciated the lovemaking scene. It was nice and slow. I mean, the first time they had sex, it was kind of fast, kind of crash, boom, bam, and rip each other's clothes off. And this time it was nice and slow. There was something more romantic about it, even though it's all completely based on a lie. And frankly, at the same time, it's so hard to even, you almost have to not think about how horrible all of the people in Genoa City are. Pretty much every single person on the show is a horrible person if you want to dig right down into the history. There's nobody that's blameless. There's nobody that's clean, up to and including Adam, who is seducing Chelsea while pretending to be someone else. I mean, it's like all of the stuff about Delia, Y&R is telling us to just forget it. Don't even bother. We're never going to bring up the fact that Adam killed Delia again unless we choose to later, which I seriously doubt they will. They're basically just telling us, accept that the guy killed a little girl, and then is now covering up his identity to avoid going to prison. And not only that, but now he's seducing Chelsea under a false identity. It's horrible. It's a horrible thing to do. But that being said, I really enjoyed the lovemaking scene. It felt, like Y&R does it. Just they tell you, right now at least, throw your logic out the door, which is not like my favorite thing to do. It's not why I love watching, but throw your logic out the door and just get into this moment. Don't think about it. Just get into it. So I was there for the slow undressing that Adam and Chelsea did. It was awesome. They played this song in the background. I was just in it. I was in the moment. It was so good. And in the middle of it, ooh, she called him Adam. She's sleeping with another man. it's almost like she's just using, I don't know what it was, like if she was using him or if she'd like felt, like if she felt Adam's presence or what, but she calls out Adam's name in the middle of them having sex, and he just smiled. He didn't say a word. He just smiled. Ooh, that just made his little day. Ugh. It was so exciting to me. It was so right. I think these two actors have amazing chemistry together, and I don't know, I'm looking forward to seeing more of it. And I really liked the way Justin Hartley was kind of playing it. There was sort of I liked that throughout the lovemaking scene he was doing some smiling, because the first time they slept together he just sort of accepted it, like, you know, I remember him saying something like, what happened? And she was like, shut up and kiss me, and they just kind of did it. But this time she was coming to him, and it wasn't out of any kind of insecurity with Billy. It wasn't for any other reason than for the fact that she wanted him. And then to have her call out Adam's name, oh, he was getting exactly what he wanted. And I loved the way it was played. I thought it was a great lovemaking scene, and just in general kind of a nice emotional moment. But then afterwards, they should be just bathing in the afterglow of the sex, and he has to go and mention to her that she called out Adam's name during their lovemaking. I mean, this guy has professed his love for Chelsea, and then when they're actually starting to sleep together, she's calling out another man's name, and he's bringing it up kind of braggingly and going, no, it's cool, don't worry about it. I mean, as if she's immediately mortified, like, oh my gosh, I should not be sleeping with you if I'm calling out Adam's name. I'm obviously still in love with him. I'm not in love with you. I should never have done that. She totally freaked out and kind of kicked him out. And I thought, why did you have to go brag? Why did you have to go boast, Adam? That twisted bastard should have just silently enjoyed the ego boost. That, you know, knowing that all this time later, after everything he's done, after being dead, and after courting her for all of these months, she's still calling out his name during sex with another man. So Sage is totally pregnant, and I will tell you, Chelsea's gonna end up pregnant too. Oh my goodness, what a tangled web we weave. So Sage is pregnant, and we totally predicted that like 2 weeks ago. Of course, you know, Nick's gonna assume that it could be his, but it could also be Adam's. Like, Sage slept with Adam once and slept with Nick many times. She'll end up pregnant with Adam's child. Chelsea has slept with Gabriel, but I bet you it's gonna be Billy's child. You just watch, she's gonna end up pregnant too. But for now, Sage is pregnant, even though she told Nick that she thought she was not able to have children, which we should have known as the audience immediately that she was gonna be pregnant. That should have been our first red flag. Oh, she thinks she can't have kids? Well, let's see, what about two, you know, she's gonna be pregnant any minute now. And Nick is so just like, what? I had unprotected sex with a woman and now she's pregnant? I didn't think she could have kids. I guess that just must be my super sperm. She immediately tells him, and he asks, you know, or she kind of gives him the opportunity to ask if it's his child, and he does, and she immediately says, oh yes, it's your child, no doubt about it. And obviously a DNA test will never say anything different. Sage is carrying a numenaire, all right, but it's gonna be Adam's. I'll tell you that right now. It's not gonna work out the way she wants it to. She wants it to be Nick, therefore it's Adam's. And that's going to be another thing that throws a little wrench into Adam's hope of being with Chelsea. They're going to feel, oh, we love each other so much, but they're going to ultimately, Adam's going to have this child with Sage. It's sticky. It's really, really sticky. Nick and Sage I think make a really good couple. I think I would like to see more of them together. It's way too soon for them to be sharing a child. I'm not exactly into that. I'm not exactly happy about the fact that she's pregnant. But I mean, what can I do? What can I do about any of this? I immediately, as soon as this all started coming up, I thought Faith is gonna hate this. Can you imagine the little fit that Faith is gonna throw? Not only at the fact that Nick's gonna be spending more time with Sage, but at the fact that she's no longer the baby of the family. Is it wrong that I would love to see, like, stick that to Faith? Faith has been such a little brat. Well, because she's had a hard life. I know, I don't know why I'm relishing in that, but there's part of me that's like, yeah, you know, forget Faith. I've seen too much of this kid anyway. But Faith is gonna hate this. Sharon is gonna hate this. Of course, after Nick found out that Sage was pregnant, there's this nice little moment between Nick and Sharon, and Sharon's trying to maybe see if, now that the charges have been dropped against her, can she get some extra custody. And Sharon, you know, it's like sometimes Sharon is so on point. She is so rational, and she's telling Nick that, you know, maybe our romantic relationship is over, but we're still Faith's parents and they still belong in her life. And it was such a rational conversation. Nick's mind was so not there. He was clearly thinking about the fact that he's going to be a father again. He's going to share this child with another woman. I don't know if it's going to tick Sharon off. I don't know what Sharon's reaction is going to be to it, but she did manage to give him a little warning, like, you know, maybe you need to just not see Sage for a while, because it's all about Sharon and she's trying to protect Faith, and she doesn't, you know, want Nick's relationship with Sage to interfere or upset Faith in any way. Or do you think Sharon still loves Nick? Is she still wanting to keep him on the line at this point in the story? I'm not sure. I miss Nick and Sharon. I do. Even just that little scene of them kind of talking in the booth, I thought, you know, remember it was like a year ago Nick and Sharon were engaged. Remember they had that wild bachelor/bachelorette party, and it was so fun, and I feel like Nick and Sharon do belong together ultimately, and so it's hard to watch as Nick has pulled so far away from her, completely abandoned her. They're completely with other people. Nick is gonna end up with this kid with Sage. Sharon's gonna end up with, you know, with her thing, probably pregnant too with Dylan's child. It's just crazy. I'm telling you, I'm predicting a whole nother wave of pregnancies in Genoa City. Sage is going to be pregnant with Adam's child. Chelsea's going to be pregnant with Billy's child. Sharon's going to be pregnant with Dylan's child. It's going to be a baby bonanza at Y&R. Who's up for another round of DNA testing? I wish Sharon would have never sent that text message to Avery from Dylan's phone. I don't understand why that happened, and it really got in there, and it has thrown a wrench into my enjoyment of Dylan and Sharon's relationship. It was so unnecessary. Avery and Dylan were already over. It was kind of obvious that they were gonna break up sooner or later. How many weeks have we been going through the stages of Avery and Dylan being over with? I mean, so many other relationships are, like Victoria and Stitch were over in a day. Billy and Chelsea were over in a day. We've been going through Avery and Dylan's breakup for weeks and weeks. I don't think Y&R even needed to have Sharon get involved in that. She didn't need to do a thing to break up Avery and Dylan. It was already gonna happen. And Avery came home this week, and she goes looking for Dylan. He's just come from Sharon's house. They've just slept the night there on the couch. Oops, fell asleep. Had some more kissing, which, by the way, Dylan kind of started. And, you know, Avery ends up having this alone moment with Sharon where she was, you know, kind of, you know, ragging on her, like, why are you sleeping overnight with my fiance? It's wrong for Avery to put the blame on Sharon because it was Dylan's fault that he slept there, but at the same time, knowing that Sharon sent that text message made me mad at Sharon too. Why do they always have to test Sharon's character? Can't she just be good for one one moment. Why did she have to do that? And it bothered me too that the entire time Avery's confronting Sharon and saying, yeah, you don't want Dylan to be with me. You're obviously you obviously have feelings for him. And Sharon is standing there talking to Avery, acting like nothing was going on between her and Dylan, and that Avery was nuts to assume that anything was going on between Sharon and Dylan, but Sharon was standing there lying. She's lying. She knows damn well that she's having feelings for Dylan. She knows damn well that she sent that text message. And she's treating Avery like she's bonkers for thinking something's going on. That bothered me. The one honest thing that Sharon did in that scene was fess up to sending the text message. I guess it's okay to lie as long as you admit to it. I don't know. But Dylan comes back in and Avery says, well, I didn't come back sooner because you sent me that text message. Dylan's like, what text message? And Sharon is kind of raising her hand quietly in the corner. Oh yeah, about that. I just wish it hadn't happened because I don't want to be mad at Sharon, and it just really bothered me. And naturally, Avery sees that as, whoa, what? This woman who you've been defending and helping for all of these weeks got onto your phone and sent a message to me. That's messing with our lives. And Dylan's standing there defending Sharon, telling Avery, oh, well, let's hear what Sharon has to say. Clearly, Dylan defending Sharon instead of Avery. At that point, Dylan had already made his choice. I mean, he already made his choice weeks ago that he wanted Sharon, or he would have been more supportive with Avery. And Avery, for that matter, made her choice weeks ago. They were already breaking up weeks ago. So don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that Sharon is what broke them up, because it's not. There are so many other factors, and again, nobody's blameless in the scenario, but I felt like Dylan, he should have shut Sharon down right then and there. The second, if he didn't love her, the second that she admitted to interfering in his relationship, he should have shut her down. It's so inappropriate. But he didn't. He kind of put Sharon on the back burner for a minute, goes back to his apartment with Avery, and Dylan and Avery have their breakup. But, again, just like what Sharon was doing, kind of in her, I suppose, denial about what was really going on between her and Dylan, Dylan is standing there kind of trying to defend himself still to Avery, insisting to Avery that nothing's going on between, I kind of felt bad for Avery this week, because Dylan's standing there telling Avery that nothing's going on between he and Sharon, and that she's projecting her feelings for Joe onto him. Oh no, the only reason that you're thinking that means something's going on between me and Sharon is because something's going on with you and Joe, which is also a lie. Dylan and Sharon had already kissed twice by that point, and they snuggled all night long. So don't stand there and pretend that nothing's going on when you know damn well that there is. I don't have a problem with their relationship at all. I don't have a problem with any of this. I just don't understand why they're all lying about it. So Dylan and Avery break up, and I feel bad because I think that they were a nice couple and I did enjoy them, and it's unfortunate that all of these different things came in between them. And I thought that Avery made a really good point during the breakup that it seems like they're always fighting something together. That the nature of Avery and Dylan's relationship was that they had to be fighting something. And Avery mentioned that to Dylan that the soldier in you always needs something, always needs someone to protect. And if it's not me, if I'm not needing your protection, then what do we have here? And I mean, I thought that was such an interesting comment to make, because the soldier in Dylan always needs someone to protect, and Sharon is always in in need of being protected. So I guess they're a perfect little match right there. But and they do have a lot of things in common, which, you know, throughout the course of thinking about Dylan and Sharon, they are a logical couple. I think that they could have a lot of passion and chemistry there, and I'm not anti any of this. I'm not anti Dylan and Sharon, but I do wonder how long can their relationship really last if they're just in that constant cycle of protecting and being protected and protecting and being protected. That seems to be almost what it's based on for me. And I guess I would have wanted more. I feel bad for Avery and Dylan. They kind of decided, well, where are we when all of the battles have been fought? And if you think about it, they really were always busy fighting some battle together. So Avery takes off the ring. She gives it back to Dylan. It was really sad, and I feel bad for everyone involved. Again, nobody's an angel. Sharon's not blameless, Dylan's not blameless, Avery's not blameless, Joe's not blameless, and maybe that's why the story is compelling. There are no victims here. Everybody played their own part in, you know, where the situation ended up. Yeah, I don't know. Avery goes back to Chicago, and she, you know, wants to dig back into her plan of helping Joe. Joe doesn't waste any time. She reveals that she broke up, or that she and Dylan broke up their engagement, and Joe, like, goes right in for a kiss. She has to tell him, whoa, I just broke up with my fiance 2 hours ago, and you're trying to kiss me? That's not what this is about. I mean, Joe made a good point that, you know, you didn't have to help me. All I asked of you was to help me get my stuff out of storage after the accident, and to, you know, do this. Or I asked a few simple tasks for you. I didn't ask you to abandon your whole life. I didn't ask you to leave town and let Dylan and Sharon do their thing together. You know, you chose to leave Dylan. Avery could have been up in her relationship and decided to fight for her relationship with Dylan over her guilt and whatever else is going on between her and Joe. But I was, you know, with as fast as the Dylan and Sharon thing has started happening, I was glad that Avery and Joe didn't just jump right together, because he leans in for a kiss with her, and she says, whoa, 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 that's not what I'm thinking about right now. I've recently broke up, and I don't think of you like that. I'm not here because I want to have a romantic relationship with you. I'm trying to be here as a friend for you until you are recovered. And let us make sure that we zero in on that little piece of information that got lodged in Joe's brain. I'm here for you until you're recovered. Well, we all know that Joe's still in love with Avery. He still wants to have her. And here's where the faking it begins. Here's where the faking it begins that we predicted the week that Joe fell into the garbage can. I mean, the week that he was gonna, we said immediately, this guy is going to get better way before he reveals to anyone that he's gotten better. And that's exactly what we're getting ready to see. He's making progress, but he's not gonna tell anybody that he's making progress. And he's gonna let Avery continue to be there and be his nurse and be there for him and hope that she falls in love with him in the meantime. It's kind of the same thing Adam, you know, is doing with Chelsea. But I don't know. I don't know. I guess if it all boils down to what's the build time here for these relationships. Is the timing is off, because Dylan is back at home trying to come face to face with his feelings for Sharon, which to me, like, I get that Dylan and Sharon went through something together, and I do think they absolutely have a chemistry, but Avery broke up with him. He slept the night and then kind of goes to Sharon the next day and professes that he has feelings for her, and that, you know, that it wasn't a lie, that he feels a chemistry, he feels a connection, he feels something for her. And he looked so sad, and his eyes were all red, and I was connecting with him in the moment. I'm not trying to, like, you know, to poo-poo the storyline or whatever, but it happened so fast. And Sharon is standing there, this man who has protected her and made her feel all safe, and who is the one person that never really abandoned her during this most recent struggle. He's telling her that he loves her and he has feelings for her, and she's standing there like a happy little schoolgirl. And it was nice. They started talking to one another about, you know, Sharon saying, I have these feelings too, and it's all like revealed, oh, you know, we're not just friends, we're more than friends. And it immediately like jetliner into a lovemaking scene. And it was a beautifully filmed lovemaking scene. Dylan and Sharon, they transitioned somehow into her bedroom, and it was all backlit. They were kind of, you know, in the shadows, and the light was in the background. It was a beautifully shot scene, but I wish I would have seen it like 3 or 4 weeks from now, to be honest with you. I wasn't expecting Dylan and Sharon to just rush right into bed. I mean, it went from, oh, we have feelings for one another, to sex, and it was a little too much. I feel like Y&R kind of botched this relationship. I hate to say it. I think Sharon and Dylan had so much potential, and there are a couple that make sense, and I could have found a million reasons why this would work, but I just keep getting stuck on that stupid lie, and now I'm stuck on the fact that, whoa, this is moving at lightning speed. I could have waited for this. And you know, and I look back at the 2 lovemaking scenes that were really notable for me. Well, actually, there were several lovemaking scenes this week that were notable. I mean, we had Adam and Chelsea, Hilary and Devon. We had Sharon and Dylan. And I think that the reason why the Adam and Chelsea scene, and I'll talk about Devon and Hilary next, but worked for me, was because it was a slow build. I mean, Adam and Chelsea, that's a lovemaking scene that we've been waiting for months to see. Dylan and Sharon, it's so out of nowhere, I didn't even have time to anticipate it. Likewise, Hilary and Devon have gone through their process, and I've gone through my process of accepting their relationship. At first it was so naughty, and then you got the sense that these are 2 people that really love each other, and you understand Hilary and Devon's bond, and then they're broken apart, and they stayed apart for at least a few weeks, and now they're finally getting to the point where they're coming back together. And we started off the week with a beautiful lovemaking scene between them that I could get into, because I get the sense that these 2 people know each other and I know them, and so it's something that I can really sink my teeth into, as opposed to just sort of a crash boom bam. It was built up enough. So that's a lovemaking scene I really enjoyed. I laughed a little bit as Devon and Hilary came downstairs and got right up into the middle of that confrontation between Neil, Nikki, and Billy and Ashley. And I think Billy asked Hilary, he handed her the contract and said, "Does you're Jack's assistant? Does this look like his signature to you? And you know, have you ever seen Jack sign this contract?" Like, all of a sudden, Hilary's a Jack handwriting expert, or she's the expert on Jack. It was funny. But all of that aside, I think another compelling thing about Devon and Hilary's relationship now is that they're making a conscious effort to be really honest with everyone. It's the one thing that they did wrong at the beginning. If they just would have been honest with Neil from the beginning, that they were having feelings for one another and that they were interested in pursuing a relationship, or at least like, hey, I want to step away while I'm having these feelings until they get resolved, that would have made a world of difference in the whole dynamic and the family thing, and obviously it would have been far less interesting to watch. But I think it was, it kind of seemed like maybe it was Hilary who wants to, she's ready to pull the plug at any moment. It's like she doesn't want to cause any more trouble. She doesn't want to hurt anyone any more than she already has. But I think Devon's being really insistent on being honest with Neil. Thank goodness. I'll be able to forgive him ultimately for all of the lying and all of that, because he's being honest now. And they come downstairs and they are honest with Neil, and they tell him we do love each other and we want to be together. And furthermore, the piece of information that you don't have yet, Neil, is the fact that Hilary has done a lot to help our family. Hilary is the one who is responsible for you getting out of the charges and the murder charges and all of that. And it was kind of like Devon's trying to paint Hilary in a nicer way, but I mean, Neil's not buying it at all, and he shouldn't. I mean, I like the fact that Neil that Devon and Hilary are being honest with Neil, but if Neil just would have turned around and went, okay, forgive ya, I would have been a little disappointed with him. And now, frankly, any goodwill that Devon has built up with Neil since the whole big explosion and reveal is completely gone now, and Neil put them in their place right in front of everybody in the athletic club, right publicly. He said I loved his speech. It was so awesome. The writing was great. He was like, you expect me to believe anything about what you're saying? I mean, you guys, you're gonna get everything you deserve. Karma is a bitch. And Neil just like walks off. I loved it. Neil is so good right now. He's so real right now. He was being so frank with them. It didn't, everything that happened to him didn't just get candied over. And I liked that. I mean, it's so funny that something like that can really please me so much. Again, it was building. I love seeing him tell them off. It was awesome. Now the weird thing on the no build train that we're on here, Neil and Gwen have been kind of like satelliting each other for a total of 3 scenes now, and all of a sudden they're romantically involved. That came out of nowhere. Gwen comes up to Neil and she's like yada yada, and he's like yada yada, kiss kiss, smooch smooch. What? I mean, they both have their betrayal from Devon and Hilary in common, but what else do they have in common? Am I supposed to be feeling this? Is anybody feeling this relationship? It just seems like another one that it's just, there's no build up, no nothing for me. Plus, I will say, Gwen is too good for Neil. He will just break her heart like he breaks every other woman's heart who's not Drusilla. I love reading your comments, and I want to say a special shout out to John and his wife. John left a really nice message at yrchat.com that really touched my heart, and I just want to say I'm sorry for your loss, and I really appreciate that you and everyone that is kind of involved in Y&R Chat and that watches the video and the podcast feel comfortable opening up to me about who you are and what you're going through. And it's so weird. Life tends to end up being sometimes such a weird mix of joy and sorrow all at the same time, and I've always looked at Y&R as being kind of a reflection of that. You get storylines that just tug you and that speak to you, and you can identify with them, and then there are ones that just make you laugh for no reason. So it's really cool, I think, that we're all able to connect over the show. And even when I'm having bad days, or I had this migraine before I even started doing Y&R Chat today, and I mean, it was just blazing behind my eye, and I didn't feel like turning on the camera, and then I started reading comments, and magically, I am not even kidding you, I just felt instantly better. So I feel instantly uplifted by you and your feedback. So anything that any of you are taking away from Y&R and or Y&R Chat, please know that I'm taking it away too, and I do appreciate you. Katie left a message on Facebook that says the only thing that went through my mind when Neil kissed Gwen was another one down, another one down, another one bites the dust. That man moves on from his breakups faster than it takes for the ink to dry on his divorce papers. Amen. men, my thoughts exactly. There is a trail of women that Neil has laid waste to. Good women who would have been good for him, and he just... I mean, in some ways, it's funny that Neil would even say Karma is a bitch, because he has dogged so many women. And look how he dogged Sophia just most recently. I think that was kind of his last major relationship. And then he wonders why he's getting dogged by Hilary? Please. Aunt Daisy on Facebook says, what are the writers doing to Neil? It's awful to see Neil turn into a Victor bot like Victoria. I hope he comes to his senses. He's always been such a positive influence, and I know he's brokenhearted, but there's no reason to change him into a horrible person. Yeah, I mean, it's just like Victor. Calling him a Victor bot is kind of, it's such an appropriate thing to do. Neil always struck me as the guy who had the morals. He was, and I think that's sort of one of the reasons that led to him stopping working with Victor in the first place. He always kind of was, he tried to be the upstanding guy. I mean, for as horrible as most of these people are, I mean, Neil really it's been a drop in the bucket compared to everyone else. So it is kind of weird to see him having this transformation. NippyFan100 called into my voicemail and kind of reminded me of a scene I didn't talk about, which was Billy versus Victor. I think I talked about the scene, but down in the lab when Billy was trying to get the truth out of Victor and trying to understand if, or try to get Victor to confess to forging the contract, there was just a couple of quick quips between them, and Billy had said something about trying to save his father's company. I think Victor was like, why are you even here? And Billy's like, I want to save my father's company. And Victor said, don't even mention your father's name. Like, you're not even good enough to walk in his shoes. And it was a pretty good burn. And I do enjoy Billy versus Victor. Oh, and another thing I didn't think of. Don't you think, wasn't it weird when Jack was in that coma? Jack was kind of coming out of his coma and starting to reveal that he recognized his family members, and Billy came into the hospital room and Jack called Billy Billy Boy, which is Victor's name for Billy. So I don't know who's gonna end up figuring this out. It's gotta be Billy. Billy seems to be the one who's most steadfast in trying to find out what's going on at Jabot and what's going on with Jack, but it could be Phyllis too. I don't know. The walls are closing in. Beatrice left a voicemail, I think on Friday, and said, when during the big scene where fake Jack was revealing that his name is Marco, I thought Victor was gonna say Polo, and I really laughed at that because I thought the same thing. My name is Marco. It would have been great if Victor would have said Polo. It seems like Victor's had all of these scenes this week where he's getting real up in the camera and his eyes are very wide, and that would have been a funny moment. Anna called into my voicemail and said, since when is Victor Newman a murderer? That's exactly how I feel. I don't know when that transition happened, and for that matter, I will also say when has it been okay, or why would it be okay for Victor to unleash a known FBI wanted criminal on his family? I mean, Phyllis is sleeping with this man. An FBI hardened criminal. You would put him into a house where Phyllis is, where Ashley frequents, where your granddaughter frequents. It doesn't make sense that Victor would do that, but he's done stuff like that before. Just thinking about Patty, think about what he's doing with Kelly. I guess if we dig back into the history, he's done other horrible things, but I just don't want him to. Lot Fally left a comment at YRChat.com that says, as ludicrous as the whole Kelly Jack hostage crisis is, that's a funny way to put it, I have to admit that it has its hugely entertaining moments. This dazed and confused version of Jack provides so many good laughs, and let's face it, the utter unbelievability of the situation is a hallmark of daytime TV. So I do appreciate that comment. I'm glad that somebody's enjoying it, and I wish that it's just not my cup of tea. And that actually reminds me of a comment that Gary left in my voicemail early in the week. He was kind of talking about, or he was reading an article from Soap Opera Digest where there was an interview with Amelia Heinel, and someone had asked her what one of her favorite storylines was, and she had mentioned the Reliquary storyline, and that's another one. It just kind of, that sort of jogged my memory because it was this weird, almost Indiana Jones style storyline where Brad and I think Victoria were involved in finding what amounted to some kind of holy grail, and they went off to, I think, Italy looking for this basically holy grail, and I have no idea how or why it turned into to anything. It led to, I think, Brad realizing his Jewish heritage, and I think it might have been tied in there somehow, and somebody, I don't know why, I don't even know why they were doing it, but it was one of those, I'm thinking of it right now, and it was just so timely to bring it up now, Gary, because it's like, Y&R is, you know, as Lot Fally mentioned, they've done this kind of thing before. I mean, it's not as if Y&R has never forced us to stretch our imagination, and it is indeed a hallmark of daytime TV. I think that's a good way of putting it. It's just, for me, that's never been the reason why I watched Y&R, and I think of all of the soaps, it seems like Y&R has kind of tried to keep it a little more on the believable side, and that's what has attracted me to it, and that's what's kept me watching it over the years. And so I get a little grumpy when it's not going my way. But I'm only one viewer. It doesn't have to be perfect for me. They're trying to please a wide range of tastes too. So I'm glad that people are enjoying that. Is anybody out there enjoying Gabby and Stitch? I still haven't heard from anybody saying they're enjoying that. Have My Cake on YouTube says, Victor only wants Chelsea at Jabot because he knows Gabriel has a thing for her. Chelsea quit and Victor told Ashley he could find replacements easily. It shifted after fake Jack told Victor that Gabriel wasn't the man he claimed he was, and then Victor saw how Gabriel was reacting to Chelsea. He thinks he can use their closeness as a way to see what he's really up to. So he needs Chelsea there at Jabot to make that happen. I love that. And I hadn't really thought about it, but it is true. BX Girl HS on YouTube says, I find Chelsea and Victor's dynamic interesting. He treats Chelsea the way he used to treat Sharon back in the Belle days. I think ever since Adam died, Victor has seen how much Chelsea loved Adam, and he's bonded with her over Connor. Let's not forget that Chelsea allows Victor to see Connor when she knows that that's not what Adam would have wanted. I kind of love the leeway that Victor gives her. He seems to respect her, and Victor doesn't respect many people. I really agree, and I love that connection. I hadn't thought about it. That's one of the things that got killed. One of the elements of the show that got killed that I appreciated and missed was the Victor and Sharon relationship. It got killed when they got married. I mean, Sharon and Victor had their troubles over the years, or their thises and that's, but Victor always came to Sharon's defense. They had a very special relationship before the rivalry. It's weird how that dynamic has changed completely. They are enemies now, Victor and Sharon, but before that he always had kind of a tenderness with her, always kind of seemed like a father figure, and I never thought about it before, but it does seem like some of that has transferred into Chelsea and Victor's relationship. That's a really cool point. I laughed. Michael called into my voicemail and said, Dylan does not need to be laying up with Sharon this soon. And made me laugh, and I was really glad to hear it because I didn't know if I was the only one that felt that way. It could have been so much better. Aaron Brody on YouTube says, I miss those days of strong Sharon too. Remember when Sharon was strong and independent and loving, supporting wife and mother? Bring that back, Y&R. I'm so tired of you running my Sharon into the ground every week. Aren't there other characters on the show that can take the fall for things? It's always Victor conning someone, and it's always Sharon being an outcast in this city. So true. I really feel like I couldn't have said that any better myself. Got a funny voicemail from Gina in Australia, who was thinking about the underground set. I mean, every single person who called in about the underground set or left a comment about the underground set was like, why would Y&R just recreate that set perfectly? But Gina had mentioned that we need to bring back the colonnade room. Do you guys remember the colonnade room? That was such, it's not like even that it was a great set, but there were opportunities for greatness inside the colonnade room. It was basically a private dining room, but it was more upscale. It gave us a chance to kind of dress up and have more fancy events, and now it seems like Y&R's just got restaurants and bars, and it's way more casual. I do miss that. That's an element that I wish they would bring back. I don't know whatever happened to the colonnade. So it was basically the colonnade room at Gina's. Is that where it was? Where was the location of the colonnade room? Or was it its own freestanding building? I mean, I remember it, but I mean, 'cause it was like Victor would call up and surprise Nikki with dinner at the colonnade room, or it was the special place that we went for dinner. We don't even get special dinners anymore. It's always the athletic club. But somebody tell me where that was. Was the colonnade room inside of another restaurant, or was it its own restaurant? That I don't remember. And finally, I'll leave you on this one. Connor called into my voicemail just to welcome Sage to the pregnancy club, the Y&R pregnancy club. Okay, you guys, time for me to get going. I think I did a shorter version of Y&R Chat this last week, so this is probably a longer version. Fingers crossed that I didn't have any audio problems or anything like that. Hopefully this is getting back to good old Y&R Chat. So, knowing how much I love comments, why don't you leave me one? You can pretty much leave a comment anywhere. You can go to yrchat.com. You can leave a voicemail through the website directly, or you can call the voicemail numbers from your phone is 309-588-4569. If you're on yrchat.com, you can leave a comment there. You can find my Facebook page and Twitter page, and you can watch the YouTube video. Leave a comment there. You can find the podcast, leave a comment on iTunes. There's so many ways. So feel free. I'm gonna go now, but I hope everybody has a really good week, and we'll see where we are next week at this time. How many new people will have slept together, and will the other pregnancies have been revealed yet? Who's gonna all of a sudden have morning sickness next? We shall see next time. Bye.